Okay, was God's view of marriage different in the Old Testament than in the New Testament?
His view is not different, because the reason I say that is because we see that in Ephesians. So in Ephesians 5, verse 31, for this reason a man will leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. That, again, that's Old Testament. That's Genesis 2. So the marriage, the view has not shifted, okay?
Okay.
But I do think, whether in Old Testament or New Testament times, there has been the reality that culture has viewed marriage differently. And so, for example, in Old Testament, we see patriarchs have multiple wives.
Okay.
We see David with multiple wives, King David, a man after God's own heart. And but just because they had multiple wives doesn't mean that was God's design or desire for them.
So all right, so you don't like homosexuality.
I don't like homosexuality.
You think that's bad?
Okay, so I think the act of homosexuality is a sin.
Okay, so
yes.
you
But do I hold on before you box me in completely.
Okay.
But do I also think that there are individuals that have same-sex attraction that don't want to live in that type of way but struggle with same-sex attraction? Yes, I do. So same-sex attraction, the attraction itself is not the sin, okay? The sin is the act of homosexuality. Okay. I just want to be clear with that.
All right, well, that's not the point.
Okay.
The point is, if there was a gay pastor,
okay,
you would tell me not to listen to anything they say, right?
I would.
So why was David allowed to sin by having multiple wives and doing what God didn't want him to do in a sexual nature?
Right.
But he's man after God's own heart.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Okay. No, I think it's a great question. So because David, and you see what happened with the multiple wives. We see it in every story. Like it doesn't end well when there's multiple wives involved. Okay. I mean, Abraham had Sarah. Isaac had.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, Abraham had Sarah. Isaac had Rebecca, and that went pretty well. Jacob has Leah and Rachel,
and that was bad.
And it was a hot mess, and that wasn't even of his own doing. He, of course, he wanted to have Rachel, right? That was the one. But then his father-in-law did the whole,
oh yeah.
What am
switcheroo?
Yeah, the switch. Sorry, my mind's been absolutely blank. So then he worked 7 more years, gets wives. But then obviously I'm not trying to make Jacob out to be some saint, because then he also had 2 concubines, right? Like,
okay,
because the women, Rachel and Leah, stopped having children, so but they wanted him to have more children, and anyway, it was just it was all about it, and that is what you often see in that day and time. It was about having children. And so because a concubine was considered,
because fill the earth.
Yeah, a concubine was considered, so let's say Leah had a concubine. Well, those children are considered Leah's children.
Okay, so then did God, because all right, so did God allow culture to be that way?
Allowed it, yes. I mean, because he's allowed, he's allowed culture, because culture has never been fully holy ever since the fall, right? So every culture is flawed,
right?
And so, but to get to your question about King David, because I thought it was a really good question,
okay,
and so King David marries, and so he has children with Michal, and then then you see him have he commits adultery with Bathsheba.
Right.
And then eventually marries her after, of course, having her own husband killed.
Did he commit adultery before he had her killed?
Before he had him killed?
Or him killed?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought he did it after.
Committed adultery.
Oh.
And so, and then husband comes back because she gets pregnant. Husband comes back.
Oh.
And he's trying to get her husband to sleep with her. because he's been off at war, comes back and he won't do it. He won't have sex with his wife because he says, if my brothers who are out there fighting war, if my fellow Israelites, if they're not able to be home with their wives and the comfort of their own homes, neither will I. And he slept outside of the front door. He wouldn't even go in the home.
Oh.
And so he wouldn't have sex with Bathsheba. And so therefore, because of his own integrity, then David has to have him killed. Oh. And then marries her. And then they lose that child. And then she conceives again, and that's Solomon.
Is God making this go bad for him, or is this just going bad for him?
This is just going bad for David
because he sucks.
Well, here's what's there's pride there, right? Because it says that it was the season or the time of year where kings go out to war. Okay? David didn't go out to war. He sent others in his place.
Oh.
So he sent his military out there, but he didn't join the other kings who were going out for war.
Okay, so if God came to you and told you that the gay pastor down the street was a man after his own heart, like David was bad and also was that, would that piss you off?
Okay, so here's what happened with David, though.
Okay.
So he was a man after God's own heart, has this terrible situation, right?
Okay.
Where he commits horrible, heinous sins of adultery and obviously murder. Okay. He's confronted by the prophet Nathan, and he ends up repenting following Nathan's, not initially, but eventually he repents because of his own doing, because of Nathan confronting him and rebuking him. Okay. And so then he repents, and from that point on,
kills all his extra wives.
No. From that point on, he continued to live in the state of repentance and in right place with the Lord.
Okay.
So here's what I would say. For an individual like you're talking about, right? The gay pastor down the street. That's what you said. Here's the question is, will that individual repent or not?
Okay.
That becomes the issue of, are you an individual after the Lord's own heart? In other words, are you an individual pursuing the heart of the Lord? And so, because I'm not here to throw a stone at somebody because of a sin, it's the unrepentant sin that becomes the issue.
Okay.
If David had never repented, that would have become the issue for David.
So was God, like, because Abraham did the same thing, right? Slept with whatever and whoever, and
with Hagar.
Yeah, with other people other than Sarah.
With Sarah's
and Sarah was
servant.
His sister, right? Or something?
Yes, half sister, yes.
So is God condemning all of this stuff to all of these dudes in the Bible?
Right.
Just like you condemn the gay pastor down the street?
Okay, so
or not condemn, whatever you call it.
Right.
What would you do? Would you condemn that?
So let's...
Are you allowed to do that?
If I'm allowed to condemn?
Yeah.
I'm allowed to... I'm allowed to call out sin.
Okay.
And I would call out
so is
sin.
God calling out Abraham's sin the
100%.
Entire time that he's married to his sister?
No, because that's... Okay. Because, all right, now we're really getting into some cultural stuff.
Okay.
Because it doesn't say at this juncture, they are marrying within their own families. Like, that's happening.
So we're like extra retarded now. I mean, we have to be.
Just because of all the ways it's come down.
All the years of incest in the Bible.
Well, I think that
this is like the extreme opposite. I didn't realize how opposite of evolution
we are.
Us believing in the Bible is. We just believe we've gotten dumber and dumber since the beginning.
Okay. Man, this is getting wild. All right. So yes, Sarah is Abraham's half sister. Okay. And so,
but wait, how's that? Okay, never mind.
Okay,
whatever.
All right. So in Genesis chapter 20, verse 12. Besides, she really is my sister, referring to Sarah, the daughter of my father, though not the daughter of my mother. You're saying that, that it's sinful, that it's wrong for Abraham to have married his wife, or married his sister, excuse me.
Yeah.
Married his sister and calls Sarah to be his wife,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so, and we do find that's, but in this moment, remember, we're pre-Mosaic law, okay? And in pre-Mosaic law, pre-Mosaic law, it was common for family members to marry one another.
So nobody knew anything was wrong with that,
right?
And God hadn't said anything was wrong with
Correct.
that yet.
Nothing had been codified or anything like that, right? And so in Leviticus chapter 18, verse 6, this is where we start to see the Lord laying out very specific guidelines in regards to incest. Okay. So verse 6, you're not to come near any close relative for sexual intercourse. I am the Lord. You are not to violate the intimacy that belongs to your father and mother. She is your mother. You must not have sexual intercourse with her. You are not to have sex with your father's wife. She is your father's family.
So God says all this to the Israelites, and then they're all just looking around at each other, and they're all related and having sex, and they're like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah, we're all screwed. And so you are not to have sexual intercourse with your sister.
The entire nation got divorced that day.
Either your father's daughter or your father's or your mother's, whether born at home or born elsewhere. You are not to have sex with her.
Sorry, Dad.
Yeah, you are not to have sexual intercourse with your son's daughter or your daughter's daughter, for they are your family. And so it goes on to list, obviously, the close relatives not to marry. Now, what's interesting, it doesn't go as far as to say your cousins.
Okay.
It doesn't make that leap, but within your immediate family, right? Or your children's children, right? And so here at this point, God's saying, all right, these practices have to stop.
So after a while, God decides to slow but not completely stop the retardation of humanity.
I mean, if that's the way you want to phrase it.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
that's basically what's happening.
Right. And I think that there's one of the things that has been argued, the fact that as the further and further we get away from the fall, the more and more fallen and corrupt we are in humanity. But I don't want to, and so that's been an argument made that's why this happens at this point in time.
Oh, like sin compounds?
Correct.
Oh.
But I also think that, I don't know if I'm fully into that, because like even in Genesis 6, it says there was nothing but evil in their hearts, right? Like this is the whole point of the flood, right? We're going to wipe out everything and start over.
Right.
Because there's nothing but evil in their hearts. And so...
Well, that's because it had been, like 65 million years since
from
the
creation
fall.
to the... And so we started over and that kind of thing. Anyway, and so I think what the Lord is doing here too is this is also one of the practices that he's established. Like so many of the laws were for the health and for the good of the Israelites, but also served as very specific reminders that they are not like the other people groups of the earth.
Okay.
And I think that this falls into that category as well.
So we're
not going to be like the other nations.
So God didn't put this law into effect in Leviticus before, because then humanity would have just died out.
Yeah, in the very beginning
practically,
parts,
right?
Practically, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he had to get enough people around to where I didn't have to
do
marry my cousin.
Right. And there's and we're also going to now we're stopping these practices, and we are going to become clear that we're not like the other people groups of the earth. This is one of those distinction marks.
So we're growing as a nation.
Yes.
Into more God-like.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Because of the law.
Because of the law. Yeah.
Okay, so that's why it's different.
Yeah. And that's also, and honestly, from our Judeo-Christian roots in our own country, this is why we look down on that. Right? Like, because this is what's in us. Like, this is not there in every other culture, but it is in our own. Like, we're going, nope, not doing that. Yeah. So my point being, like, Abraham and stuff, that wasn't his sin, quote unquote, of marrying his sister. Really wasn't sin at that time.
Okay.
Right. Whereas,
because God hadn't told him not to.
Right. Whereas after this, obviously it's sin, and for King David, for the gay pastor down the street, right? Like, Scripture has become clear, right?
Oh.
Like, in the same way these sexual laws have been established, sexual laws have been established for, all types of sexual sin.
So once God said that law, it was a sin.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
To marry your sister.
To do that after that. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The Bible's messed up, man.
There's crazy stuff in the Bible.
Yeah.
Really, there is. That's one of the reasons I find it fascinating and interesting.
Cool.
So.